Last week I asked what seemed to be a simple question. What is the OSR? It was multiple choice and I gave 4 answers. A rules tradition, a playstyle, a design philosophy, a rejection of modern D&D's build culture. Nearly 300 of you voted, and I thank you for the engagement. But then the comments exploded. All of the above. Yes! I didn't vote because it's all of them. And option D, all of the above. And you know what? You're right. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that saying all of the above isn't dodging the question, even though technically it was dodging the 4 options. But it's not a true dodge. In all seriousness, it's the only honest answer. The winning vote as of now is Playstyle by 40%. It's a clear winner, but I wouldn't say by a landslide. Just enough to matter, which tells us something really important. If the OSR was just about rules, we wouldn't have endless debates on places like Reddit. Am I the only one that realizes that Reddit can be really toxic? If it was just philosophy, then people wouldn't argue about BX compatibility. This question didn't have the perfect answer, but it did reveal the truth. The OSR isn't just one thing. It's more of an ecosystem. Speaking of which, you want to get out of here? Let's go for a walk. The old school renaissance usually starts with older rules such as AD&D, BXD&D, even OD&D, and BECME D&D, but not always. We have clones now, like old school Essentials, Osric, as well as Swords and Wizardry, and there's a ton other that I don't need to name here if you're watching this, more than likely. But maybe you're new, just trying to figure out what this OSR thing is all about. But we have adjacent games as well that are bucking the system, so to speak. Index Card RPG, Easy D6, and Shadow Dark. And I know that the BroSR is going to have a conniption about probably all of these, and so conipped away. So why these rules? Not because they're sacred, and definitely not because they're complete. In fact, maybe the complete opposite is that there is room to breathe. There's gaps. They don't pile you up with feats or skills or even class features, though there are some that are in there. That is not the reason why we're playing. We're not playing necessarily for the build, and we'll get to that later. As well, the rules don't protect players from bad decisions, and they don't have a clear path to quote-unquote winning. Burning Phoenix said it really well, and I'll read it right here. It's all of those, all 4 of those options. But I selected a rules tradition because the rest flow from reading of those rules. Having rules gives you a framework, but there's plenty of gaps, like I just said, in those rules, which means that it's more about the rulings. So the DM, as the referee, is very, very important. In fact, a bad DM can break the game, and a good DM can make an awesome game. So rulings force the dungeon master to make judgment, and in turn those judgments create player creativity, or it should push that or spur that on. The rules don't solve problems. The players need to come up with creative and out-of-the-box things in order to overcome situations, circumstances, and obstacles. And this leads us to the next one, which is playstyle. But let's hike a little bit more up the way and talk about that. And this leads us to playstyle. And this is where the OSR lives. It's not on Reddit. It's not in your PDFs or in your rule books, but it's at the table. OSR play is methodical, it's cautious, and it's quite dangerous. You don't look to your character sheet for answers, you start asking questions. You ask, what is the room like? Are there any exits? Can it be blocked or barred or baited? As well, failure is not a bug in the rules, it's actually expected. It's kind of like a feature. Death isn't dramatic, it's instructional. So as you're rolling up your next character, you're saying, I'm not going to do that again. There was another comment, I'll put it up right here, and it is, before anything, it's a play style. But then it becomes all of those. Again, leaning into everything that's on this list. And that's the key. The playstyle didn't just emerge out of nowhere, it sprung forth from the rules. Once designers started to realize why the rules worked, they started to create their games based upon what was happening at the table, rather than the text itself. This is where the OSR becomes philosophy. Not with pre-written stories or balanced encounters, not with builds, but with environments with consequences. Dungeons as questions to be answered, time management, risk as meaning, and the commenter is right, let me read it, emergent play exists in other RPGs. Of course it does, but the OSR brings it front and center. It removes the safety rails on purpose, not to be cruel, but to make success matter. All right, let's see if I can get into a less windy place. Here we go. And now we reach the tasty morsel of this ecosystem, rejection. This part is actually really important. The OSR did not start off as a rejection of modern gameplay, but it abso-fucking-lutely became that. As modern RPGs started to lean into character builds and narrative immunity and plot armor and competency at first level, the OSR just said nope. Not no to modern games necessarily, but nope to hand-holding, to guarantees. They said no to safety nets disguised as depth. The OSR isn't anti-modern. In fact, a lot of the OSR games that are out there, their modern tweaks and cleaning everything up and making rules simplified and to the point is part of the modern movement, I would say. So the OSR isn't anti-modern, it is anti-assumption that your character's guaranteed to succeed 90% of the time. And I wrote this down, I'll read it. So the OSR is a rules tradition that creates a play style that hardens into a design philosophy that eventually becomes rejection of things that undermine it. Remove any part of the ecosystem and perhaps it all crumbles and falls away. Just know that wherever you landed on this poll, you were right, because the OSR isn't found in a specific rulebook. It's a culture of play. If you'd like to help me make more content like this, consider becoming a Patreon member. There you're going to find products I create, maps I've drawn, as well as behind the scenes stuff. And if you become part of the red hand tier or above, I'll send you out one of these Agronac cult patches. All right, everyone. Thanks for stopping by Agronac Studios today, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.